All Adiyars had done something extraordinary, but some of them had even given their lives to uphold their principles. We shall now look at the hagiologies of two such servitors who were devoted to Siva, his Adiyars, and the symbols of Saivism, the matted locks, Jadamudi, and the sacred ash, Thiruneeru. PUHAZHCHOZHAR Nayanar Puranam. Mighty Chola kings had ruled for long in Tamil Nadu with Urayur as their capital. Secular begins the hagiology with a narration on the high and limitless strength of Cholas, their traditions, and the prosperity of Urayur in several verses. PUHAZHCHOZHAR was a distinguished descendant of Anabaya Solan's dynasty. He was ruling the kingdom from Urayur and at times from Karuvur, another principal city of special importance. Fairness and justice prevailed. Saivism flourished. Sengolin murai nirpa, arumarai Saivam thalaippa arasalikkum. He created several endowments for upkeep and maintenance of Siva temples, for performing daily pujas, and for taking good care of the servitors of Siva. In keeping with the tradition, he went to Karuvur with his ministers and army chieftains. Secular recalls here the earlier episode of Yeripathar felling the Yerd royal elephant and its mahouts, and PUHAZHCHOZHAR pleading to be beheaded, for ultimately he as the king was responsible for any crime in his kingdom. After paying his obeisance at the Siva temple, he arrived at the palace to receive the tributes, Thirai or Kappam, from the petty kings and to extend their rights to continue governance. In the process, he was asking if there was anyone who did not comply with the custom. The hesitant minister said there was one by name Adigan living in a hill fortress. PUHAZHCHOZHAR ordered his army to move on and reduce the fortress to dust and rubble. The army successfully did that in a fierce battle and returned to Karuvur with several souvenirs of spears, crowns, gems, and severed heads of warriors. PUHAZHCHOZHAR's happiness turned into a turmoil when he saw among those heads one with matted locks, obviously that of a Sivanadiyar. Tears rolled down from his eyes. He knew he could not bear the stigma that would no doubt come. Sirthangum ivar veni chiram thangi varakkandum பார்தாங்க இருந்தேனோ பழிதாங்குவேன் என்றார். He quickly made up his mind, ordered his ministers to invest his son with a triumphant crown. வென்றி முடி என் குமரன் தனை புனைவீர். On his part, he wore the sacred ash all over his body, carried on his head a golden plate bearing the severed head with matted locks, went around the fire clockwise, chanting the Panchaksharam, and walked with delight into the raging fire that was made ready at his instance. கண்ட சடைச் சிரத்தினையோர் கனகமணிக் கலனேந்தி அஞ்செழுத்து எடுத்தோதி மண்டுதளர் பிழம்பினடை மகிழ்ந்து அருளி உட்புக்கார். Gods in heaven showered flowers on him. ENADHI Nayanar Puranam. Einanur was a well-fortified town in Cholanadu. ENADHI, a good man of Ila clan, hailed from this town. மன்னிய அப்பொற்பதியில் ஈழக்குலச் சான்றோர் ஏனாதி நாதனார். He had unmatched prowess in fencing and hence took to the profession of teaching this martial art to people. He dedicated all the wealth earned thus to the service of the servitors. வாளின் படைப்பயிற்சி வந்த வளமெல்லாம் பெருமானடி தொண்டர்க்கு ஆக்குவார். There was another swordsman by name Adisuran in Einanur who was also engaged in the teaching of the same martial art. He had a very high opinion of himself. Yet, he found his earnings declining day after day. The obvious result was that he developed a hatred towards ENADHI. ENADHI திறத்து ஏலா இகல் புரிந்தான். One day, he decided to fight for the hereditary right to conduct the fencing school with ENADHI and went to him with his proposal and his friends and relatives. வாழ்கொண்ட தாயம் வலியாரே கொள்வது என்று அழைத்தான். ENADHI readily agreed and a grim battle followed. Secular, having been a minister, was quite familiar with such battles. Hence, he is able to give a graphic description about every detail of the battle, at the end of which Adisuran lost and showed his back. Lying awake during the night, he hatched out a plan to win over Enadhiyar through means that were not quite fair. He sent word and invited him to fight a duel in a secluded place to settle the issue without further killing people on either side. நாட்டாரை கொல்லாதே நாமிருவோம் வேறிடத்து வாழ்தாயம் கொள்போர் மலைக்க வருக. Enadhinathar, unaware of the treacherous plan, accepted and went for the fight. Adisuran also reached the specified spot with his sword and the shield covering his face, which was smeared with sacred ash. The fight started, and Enadhinathar soon had a fighting chance to kill Adisuran, who was falling down. Right at that time, Adisuran shifted his shield and let Enadhinathar see his forehead liberally smeared with sacred ash that he had never seen before on his face. The instant he saw that, Enadhinathar said, "Ah, I am ruined, Kettain. Now that he has become a Siva devotee, I shall go along with this person's plot. Ivardam kolgai kurivadi nirpen." He also didn't want to drop his sword, for that would get him the dishonor of killing a disarmed person. What chivalry! He stood still with his shield and sword and let Adisuran accomplish his intention. Seklar pleads his inability to proceed further except to say that Enadhinathar got all his attachments to life graciously severed by the sword of one who still viciously held on to them, and that Lord Shiva blessed Enadhinathar to be with him at heaven forever.